Hello everybody, Adam Monk here from FourFourTwo. A sombre Adam Monk, one that's had to digest what happened on Sunday night. He's had a day to do so, and he's been, why am I talking in the third person? I've been reflecting, obviously on the tournament, but also on Gareth Southgate's 8-year tenure, I guess, as well. I've got a lot of respect for what he's done, but now I think, and I think a lot of you watching this will think his time is maybe up now. So I thought we'll do a little bit of a different video. I'm going to go through everyone in the 26-man squad, how they performed, whether they performed at all on the pitch, and if that was an issue. And then we'll go on to Gareth Southgate, and we'll kind of summarise, you know, I'll give you my opinion on what I thought each player did, and also what I thought Gareth Southgate did wrong. And the overarching point of this whole video is going to be for open discussion in the comments, but also the point that I want to make is I feel now, especially after watching yesterday, but I've had this hunch throughout the whole tournament, that England now, with the personnel that they've got in the team, we really need to start to become a side that wins football games with the football. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I think we need to drop this kind of inherent underdog gimmick that we've got going on, where we try and win games without having control of it and having these moments of individual quality that keep bailing us out. We've got the players and personnel in this team to dominate with the ball against every side, if not most, in Europe and across the world, in my opinion. And this is where really now I think it's come to an end for Southgate. I think he knows this too. But without further ado, I will cheer up throughout this whole video. Anyway, yeah, let's just get into it. Let's start with the goalkeepers. So here we go. Right, of course, Dean Henderson and Aaron Ramsdale didn't play, so I don't really care about them. Let's give them an NA, not applicable. And I think as for goalkeepers who aren't the first choice goalie in any international tournament, they don't really play unless it's an anomaly like the South Africa World Cup, where Rob Green spilt one into his own net and then David James had to come in to get 4 punted past him by the Germans. So rarely happens, so Dean Henderson, Aaron Ramsdale, not really bothered. However, as for Jordan Pickford, this one might be a little bit controversial, and I'm not trying to aggravate anyone in the comments, I'm just simply giving my opinions. And with that in mind, like I said, I want England to become a team that are going to play with the ball. I think that always starts with the goalkeeper. I am a Man City fan, I have watched Ederson. I know what's needed to instill confidence, possession-based, in a back four, and I don't really think Pickford is just that. I think Pickford, as good as he is a shot stopper, I think he's very akin to what David De Gea was at Manchester United, in the sense that, yes, he will bail teams out time and time again with his supreme shot stopping, but the hallmark of a good side is a side that faces very few shots throughout a game, even against top quality opposition. We've got to control these teams. And yes, Pickford can bail us out when a shot is hit at his goal, but with the ball at his feet, frustrating is an understatement. There was actually a moment in the Spain final, and I believe Adam Cleary has covered it, so in the edit I'm going to dig it out and overlay it now, where Pickford had the ball and John Stones was absolutely begging for it to be played to feet, and Pickford simply ignored him and kicked it long and then recycled possession. Spain won the ball, and this has happened so many times throughout the tournament and in past years as well for England, and we used to be able to get away with it with the personnel in the side and the way that we used to play, but now, with these players who play at the top level in these top teams, we need to be comfortable on the ball throughout the whole 11. And I'm not sure Pickford's comfortable enough on the ball to warrant a starting place in the next World Cup. So hopefully a new keeper will develop in the next 2 years. We know, you look through this squad now, 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 2 years ago, no one really knew who he was or thought that he'd be starting games at the Euros. Cole Palmer has emerged from nowhere. Of course, he wasn't Man City's academy, but has set the world alight. Eze, Adam Wharton, Mark Gahey, the list goes on. Players almost spawn in and have one good season, and then on merit they're in the team. So hopefully there'll be a goalkeeper, perhaps James Trafford, who I still really rate. He had a tough time at Burnley last season, but I still think he's good with the ball at his feet. And I think in the future there will be a better fit for a possession-based England side between the sticks. Right, so that's the goalkeepers done. Now right backs, Kyle Walker. Age alone, this was his last tournament. He will not be going to the next World Cup. I think given he's 34, he's actually done very well to remain as physically capable at this age as he has been. But at 36, England won't be able to rely on him at all, and haven't, in my opinion, really been able to rely on him this tournament. I think particularly in the final, he was positionally all over the place, particularly for the first goal. And one thing I've noticed about Kyle Walker, and this isn't just in an England shirt, it's also Manchester City, and this has been over the past 7 years, he does this weird kind of like looping run. So you can see it here defending the Nico Williams goal. He kind of runs out and then back in a sort of horseshoe shape because he thinks his pace can compensate for repositioning himself in front of the attacker, and it's hilariously bad at times, and he's been doing it for many, many years. Anyway, long story short, he won't be there in the World Cup. And also, we're going to come on to the next guy now, Trent. I know he went as a midfielder, but I'm including him in this part because he's an infinitely better footballer and could not have done any worse defensively this tournament than Kyle Walker did. And yeah, that leads me on to Trent, and that is my summary at the end of the day. There's a man here who has played for Liverpool and won the Champions League and Premier League playing right back. And yes, he's been protected by a prime Van Dijk and an amazing Fabinho, etc., etc. But there's an abundance of talent in this team. And like I said, if we're going to become this front-footed side that controls the ball, he needs to be in the team. Certainly, you know, just... I know there's been this issue with, like, find a place for him. We can't drop Walker, but after these performances this tournament, can playing him at right back be any worse than what's been going on? I don't think so, and I think he's been hugely, hugely marginalised throughout this tournament and scapegoated in the first game as well. I don't think he was used properly in that midfield in the first game. He was sort of shoehorned out wide, and then we were light in the middle of the park, and every time he gets the ball, what does Trent like to do? He likes to look for runners, but given the system that we were playing and the fact that Gareth Southgate didn't really want to use any outlets, you know, like having Foden run to the back post or Kane attack the penalty area, which we'll come on to later, Trent couldn't really hit these passes that he wanted to hit. So none of this tournament was Trent's fault, in my opinion, and he should have been playing more minutes. He should be a mainstay in this side because he is such a good footballer, and I think play him in his predominant position. You know, everyone's been slagging off 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗓 this season for Chelsea and how poor he's been defensively in that Chelsea system. Then look at him there for Spain. He goes in a system that works for him, and how good was he this tournament? He looked defensively resolute. He was good going forward. He had the lot. Spain had a good balance about them. England need to strike that equilibrium too, and I think Trent has more than enough of a case to be a mainstay and a main part of that. I've just realised, looking at how long I've been recording, this video is going to be very, very long, so let's rattle through a few quick ones. Lewis Dunk, obviously, was there for experience, but he's not really been in a tournament side before, so how much can he really provide? I guess he was there. We didn't really defensively suffer from set pieces, which is, of course, Lewis Dunk's strong suit, so to be honest, for the 2026 World Cup, he may well be a pundit, but he certainly won't be there. As for 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗧, though, he really did impress me in the Switzerland game, and I think the only reason he didn't start more games is because we'll come on to 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍. I think he was so much better than 𝗘𝗫𝗧 on the ball, but defensively, 𝗘𝗫𝗧 was excellent. I think he's a very positionally intelligent player. Of course, has played right back as well in that Unai Emery system for Aston Villa, and in the Switzerland game, I think he did the country proud. I think he played very well. Will he be at the next World Cup? Well, probably not. I think he'll fall by the wayside. I think Branthwaite probably should have gone to this tournament, so you can assume he'll go to the next one. And then also, like I said, how 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗍𝗍 have all sort of spawned in since the Qatar World Cup. There will be more players coming into the England side who me and you maybe don't even know exist yet. That's like how thick and fast the turnover of St George's Park is and how good some of these players coming through are. So that is a positive. But 𝗘𝗫𝗧, overall in the game he played, had a good tournament. Will he be there again? Don't really care right now. Joe Gomez is an interesting one, though. He actually didn't play throughout the whole tournament, as far as I'm aware. I don't think he did. But he played, of course, left-back for Liverpool many times last season and did a good job there, filled in at right-back for Trent as well. He was always going to be a utility player in this England side, but one that Gareth thought was surplus to requirements. And an overarching point of this video that I want to make as well is that Gareth Southgate said in his post-match interview yesterday that a lot of the players were suffering from fatigue in the final minutes of that game. But, like, you can't blame fatigue when you have a squad this big and there's so many players that you just are reluctant to use and are marginalising. Why take Joe Gomez if you're not even going to give him a whirl in certain instances throughout this tournament? So yeah, I can't really comment on Gomez's performances, but I think he deserved to at least get a few minutes. The main positive of this video, though, we will come on to him now, is 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗍𝗍. I think he has probably been England's player of the tournament, so comfortable on the ball, and a lot of people were worried, myself included, that Harry Maguire's absence might be a bit of an Achilles heel for England, but that didn't prove to be the case. Operating on that left side of defence next to John Stones, he just looked completely comfortable, and also he could have equalised for England at the death against Spain as well. So amazing tournament for 𝗕𝗫𝗓𝗍𝗍. Don't really think he put a foot wrong at any point. Maybe you could argue the goal that Slovakia scored, but other than that, like pretty solid for a first tournament. He will definitely be at the next World Cup, but shout out to him. I think he's an amazing centre-half, and he'll kick on next season under 𝗈𝗓𝗍𝗓 and continue the trajectory he's on, and rightly so. I hope he's at the next World Cup. John Stones as well, pretty much echoing the sentiment of 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏. I thought he was very comfortable this tournament, and England overall defensively were pretty good, but that is kind of a problem because Gareth Southgate was playing us so deep, so you'd expect that. But Stones, for what he was brought in the side to do, did what he was asked to do. He clearly wasn't asked to maraud into midfield like he's done for Manchester City, which I think is another potential issue, because we never really in this tournament tried to create a numerical advantage going forward, either using Stones or Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example. We were just reluctant to do so. So as a centre-back, first and foremost, I thought Stones was pretty comfortable, but that's to be expected now. He's an established elite-level player. So not much more I can add to that on John Stones. But yeah, he had a good tournament too. One player whose tournament will be his last as well, though, is Kieran Trippier. Do I think he was particularly bad? No, certainly not defensively, but he was particularly predictable going forward. I just think the fact he's right-footed and was hugging the width so much in so many games for England on that left-hand side, when he did push up, it was hard for a Foden maybe to overlap on that left-hand side, and when Trippier did get the ball, you knew what he wanted to do, and who can blame him? It's cutting on his right-hand side and get a crossing, and I think he put one good ball in all tournament to Conor Gallagher against Slovenia, I think it was, but other than that, I can't really think of anything memorable he did going forward. And, you know, when a player receives the ball that far wide and they're a fullback and then they want to cut inside on the right foot, it just slows everything down a bit. It's certainly not as direct as it was in the final at parts when we had Luke Shaw, a natural left-footed left-back. So Trippier now, age catching up to him. He's sort of been Southgate's noble steed for many tournaments now, trusted, and rightly so. I don't think he played particularly bad, but I certainly don't think he'll be playing at the 2026 World Cup. Luke Shaw, though, annoying that he wasn't fit throughout the whole tournament. I guess we did get to the final largely in his absence, but he certainly helped as a substitute in previous games. And as for him in the final, I thought he looked good. I thought he looked really good in the first half versus Spain, especially in certain instances where he was getting on the edge of their penalty area and being incisive, beating a man. I think he squared one to Kane or Bellingham in the first half. It was just it was a more natural look about that back five system when you sort of have the fullbacks flying forward and they're on their favoured foot side. It worked, and we know this works for England. We know what Luke Shaw's strengths are, and we were missing them for a great deal of the competition. But I think when we go into the next competition, we need to make sure that we bring two left-footed left-backs, because we really suffered when we didn't have that at our disposal. So maybe 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 Mitchell, I really like him, and I think his game's going to develop over the next few years. Chilwell, probably not, unless Chelsea have a resurgence. I think Chilwell's good going forward, but defensively leaves little to be desired, or hopefully someone else will spawn in, like I said. But I think 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 Mitchell will be my one to watch for the next World Cup. I think he could make the play next time, because I really rate him. Left-footed left-back, similar attributes to Luke Shaw, quite decent going forward. So we shall see. But Shaw was a big miss, but when he did play, he was pretty good. So again, I'd say he's definitely going to the next World Cup. So that's the defenders complete, and I've mentioned Trent as well. So now let's move on to Declan Rice, the player this tournament that I think typifies what is wrong with Gareth Southgate's system right now. I think Rice was used horrifically. So on this channel, I previewed the Serbia game before the tournament started, but the team had been leaked and Trent was playing alongside Rice in a pivot, and we all knew this. And I said I didn't think it was maybe the right decision, because you don't supplement Rice with someone like Trent or even someone like Kobbie Mainoo. You supplement Declan Rice with an actual number 6, and we only have one actual number 6 in my opinion in the team, and he played 0 minutes, and that's Adam Wharton, who we'll come on to in a minute. This can be a bit of a hybrid point between Wharton and Rice, but I think Rice's best attribute is when he's got the ball and he's allowed to carry it forward into the opposition final third. He's a fantastic ball carrier. Maybe not as good a natural 6 as someone like Rodri is, and that's absolutely fine. Rice is a phenomenal player, but you use him correctly. Mikel Arteta knows how to use him correctly. He plays Jorginho or Thomas Partey alongside him every time. So Rice has got that capability to carry the ball forward into the final third and push numbers up for Arsenal. Gareth Southgate was reluctant to do that and saw Rice as this screener of a backline, spreader of sideways passes. He was forced into playing a role that almost resigned him to being a Jordan Henderson type, where he was breaking up play and not much else. And Rice has got so much more to his game, but that needs to be facilitated with the right man alongside Declan Rice. And as an overarching point, We've got so much talent in this team that play under Mikel Arteta. Jurgen Klopp, of course, he's gone now, but Trent played under Klopp. So many players playing under Pep at City. Bellingham at Real Madrid. Kane at Bayern Munich. These are top-level, elite, high-pressing, modern football clubs that play proactive, front-footed football. So by playing this negative style of play, and I know it's a very throwaway term, negative style of play, but we have got this inferiority complex where we don't want, we're comfortable not having the ball. That's uncomfortable for the players that England have got, and that's what needs to change. You need to make these players comfortable that we've got with the ball at their feet and be proactive. And that starts by supplementing Declan Rice properly with a player alongside him who's a number 6, but he's also very good on the ball. Who could that be, I wonder? And I'm getting a bit angry now. Sorry. Adam Wharton, of course, he played 0 minutes this tournament, which for me is maybe the biggest crime of the whole tournament. As good as 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏 is, I think he was phenomenal. Apart from Gay, he may be England's best player all tournament. Phenomenal. He was 18, Wharton's 19. They're a similar age. Adam Wharton has played at the top level for 6 months and not missed a beat. He did not miss a beat when he made his England debut the other week. 36 out of 36 completed passes. He's left-footed, which opens the pitch up for England. It allows different spreads of passes, incisive passes into the number 10s. It opens the pitch up having a left-footed 6 alongside Rice. And then it also helps support Rice and allow him to push on. I think Wharton should have been tried, maybe against Slovenia. I think that was the game where we could afford to maybe draw it, and we could afford to try a few things, and instead, I think Gallagher played, or someone like that. I can't really remember now. Maybe it was 𝗫𝗏 who came in, but Wharton would have been the man for me, because he's a deep-lying midfielder, and then that allows Rice to push forward. And I really, really rate Adam Wharton. I think come the 2026 World Cup, he will be starting for England, and I think he'll be playing for a top 6 club, maybe a Man City. Honestly, I think he's that good. So, yeah, disappointed for him, but he's very young. He will get many more chances, so it's not the end of the world. But yeah, just an overarching point on Wharton and Rice. They should have played alongside each other at one point this tournament, I feel. As for 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗏, though, wow, hats off to your son. Like, I've waxed lyrical about him so much, reluctantly, as a Man City fan for the last few months, but he really, really is that good. He's one of the best young England midfielders I can remember ever seeing. His ball carrying ability is amazing. Just his trickiness, that shift of momentum, how quick he is on it. He's just not afraid driving with it. They're all cliches, but he really, really does deliver on all fronts. And for his age, his maturity, how well-rounded he is, he ticks every box. He will, of course, be going to the next World Cup. Do I think he should have been used as much as he has been? Maybe not. But given the way that we were playing with the back 5, I guess, like, who really cares? And I think it reached a certain point with the way Southgate was playing where it didn't really matter anyway who played in certain games. I just think 𝗫𝗏𝗏, for what he was put there to do, did his job superbly, and I commend him for that. So yeah, there's not much more to say, because like, I just feel like when I'm talking about the midfield, the overarching point for me is how little we got out of Declan Rice, and it's really frustrating. But 𝗫𝗏𝗏 did what he was asked to do, and he did it superbly. Conor Gallagher, to be honest, I can't really be arsed talking about. No disrespect to him. We know what he does. He's tenacious. He chases the ball. He's probably someone who would have been suited to England's Euro 2020 side, where we had Henderson and Phillips, dogged ball winners in that team. Rice was used as a ball winner then. But then obviously we were hitting teams on the counter-attack with Kane rightfully dropping deep in that tournament because we had outlets like Sterling and Rashford. Gallagher would have suited that system a little bit better than whatever this has been, but I guess he served a purpose in certain games. Maybe could have been brought on a little bit earlier against Spain, given how well he did individually against Rodri in all 3 games for Chelsea against City last season, but you know, it wasn't to be. He's not an amazing footballer. He's not particularly easy on the eye, but he's good at certain attributes, particularly off the ball. So I think he serves a purpose. I said I can't be arsed talking about Conor Gallagher, and now am. But yeah, he serves a purpose in every team. You need a good off-the-ball player, and he was just that. So, didn't have a bad tournament. Will he go to the next one? Maybe. I'd give him like 50% chance. And then the next ones I thought I'd do as a pair, Foden and Bellingham, because of course they started every game in those 10 positions. Can I really knock them? No. I think they underperformed, but I don't think that's their fault. Like I said with Rice, I think these players are used to being in proactive systems, and they weren't in that. I think Bellingham off the ball did particularly well in certain games. I thought he was actually quite good off the ball against Spain in the final. Foden in front of goal, yeah, little to be desired. But listen, I've watched Foden for many, many years now, and the position where he's probably most uncomfortable is on that left-hand side. I think he's good on the right when he can cut inside. We saw that against the Netherlands when he was in that right half space. That was the best game he had against the Dutch, definitely. But realistically, he's a number 10 now. And for large parts of the tournament, he wasn't played there. And that's for Jude Bellingham as well. Where was he shoehorned out against Spain? On the left-hand side, which just goes to show how disjointed this system really is and how we're adapting to what other teams can do without really optimising our own players and putting them in the best positions on the pitch. And you know, early on in this tournament, it was Phil Foden starting out wide, and it was only later on in the tournament that we really started to try a system with two kind of number 10s in Foden and Bellingham, and it started to look a little bit better. But I think the onus was on those two so much, when really England can build a squad that is collectively so much more stronger, that those guys can then have the freedom to do what we know they can do on the ball. So I can't really dig into them too much. I thought obviously Bellingham's big moment was that overhead kick against Slovakia, which kept us in the tournament. So I guess, you know, on individual moments alone, you've got to give Bellingham credit there. But he was underwhelming. Foden was underwhelming. But like, I just think there's so many other bigger problems overarching with this England squad that I don't think picking anyone out in particular is the way to do this. I just think they'll obviously be at the next World Cup, they'll go again, and hopefully they'll be in a system that suits them better. And even if one has to be dropped as well, I wouldn't have been against that. You can drop one of these guys, but he seemed reluctant to do that as well, which is maybe another problem. But let's get on to that now. Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon. He played 6 minutes this tournament. 6 minutes. As the only left-sided real direct outlet, pacey direct outlet in this team. Given how Gareth Southgate wanted to play in Euro 2020 and how well it worked and how many goals we scored against the likes of Ukraine and other sides, I find that baffling. He didn't take Sterling, he didn't take Rashford, he did take Gordon, and Gordon is of a similar profile to those two players who, in previous years, have performed so well for Gareth Southgate's England sides because he found a system that worked with Kane dropping deep and then an outlet running in behind, and Foden couldn't fill this void. Bellingham couldn't when he was out wide. Even Saka to an extent couldn't, because he was playing wing back for large parts of the knockout games and couldn't really get high enough up the pitch to make those runs in behind into the penalty area. So Gordon fit that profile and he never got a chance, and I don't really think that's fair. And I think it speaks volumes of Southgate not really knowing what his best 11 or system was this tournament. I don't need to go on about that for too long. I just think it's as simple as that with Anthony Gordon. He's probably the most direct player in that team, and he just simply didn't play when we were crying out for it time and time again. So yeah, there's that. Another direct-ish winger, or more of like a wide striker, in Jarrod Bowen. I think he only played against Serbia, so not really much to say on him. I thought he did well in that game when he came on, but that was really a game where he came on to defensively contribute. He didn't really do much in attacking areas. I think he put one good ball in. Listen, he's a good player, not much more to say, but do I think he was the crux of any of the problems for England, Jarrod Bowen? No, so let's move on. 𝗘𝗫𝗧𝗥𝗔 thought he did very well when he played in certain games, but obviously as a number 10, he was never really going to get in ahead of Foden or Bellingham. Will he be going to the next World Cup? Yes, because I think he'll be playing for a top 6 club, and I think he is that good. I think he's so dynamic on the ball, and he's not afraid to actually just take someone on as directly as you possibly can. And, you know, he's his box of tricks, he's two-footed, he can take penalties, he's got a lot of attributes, but again, similar to what I've said, don't really think he was the crux of any issue for England this tournament. I'm just glad that he went ahead of Maddison and Grealish. I was glad that he got the chance, and definitely think he's good enough in the future. So let's move on from him. Cole Palmer, another player I thought should have definitely got more minutes. At the end of the day, right, we've got so many players in the team. I'm going to come on to Ollie Watkins, Harry Kane, of course. Foden had his best ever goal scoring season last season. Bellingham scoring so many goals in La Liga. Palmer coming second in the Golden Boot race. We have so many goals in this side. They're players who want to play front-footed, attacking football with the ball at their feet. Cole Palmer likes that, Foden likes that, Bellingham likes that. All these players were neglected to an extent because of Southgate's system. So I don't really think it matters whether Cole Palmer would have played more or not. I think he probably deserved to, given how well he played at Chelsea last season. But I don't think it would have changed much, because even if you look at the goal he scored in the final, it was a moment. It was a moment of brilliance. We know the players in this team have got moments of brilliance, and that's all we relied upon. But we need to rely upon a system now that works and dominates sides. And I think that is achievable with the personnel we got. But like I said, Bellingham's an amazing player. Foden's an amazing player. So is Palmer. Don't really matter which one would have played in this system. I don't think you'd have seen greatly different results throughout the course of the tournament. So probably unlucky to not get more minutes. Amazing for him to score in the final. And what I do like about Palmer, what I will say, is that I think he's the only player So I think Bellingham feels the pressure. I think that who else thing, he's arrogant, he's cocky, which is great, but I think it's all a bit of a show. I think Bellingham definitely does feel the pressure of the occasion. I think Foden's been open in the fact that he does. I'm sure Saka has done. Kane definitely does. I truly believe that Palmer is cold as ice, as the celebration says. I just don't think any occasion phases him, which I love in a footballer. It's reminiscent of someone like 𝗕𝗓𝗓 even. Like, I think Palmer will go on to have a better career than 𝗕𝗓𝗓. I think he's already on that trajectory. But in that sense, maybe like a Cantona as well, where like no occasion is big enough for him. That is what I really like about Cole Palmer. To come on and do that in the final is just phenomenal. And I think he'll have an amazing season next year, and he will definitely be at the next World Cup. Bukayo Saka, yes, Bukayo Saka. By the way, if you're wondering why I've changed outfits, I've not had an accident. This is actually me from the future because I forgot to do Saka in the video. So this is now the next day. And there's actually been some breaking Southgate news. You know what it is by now. We'll come on to that at the end. But Saka, listen, probably the standout attacker of the tournament for England. And I think it speaks volumes of what Southgate was trying to do in the fact that he was almost made into a sacrificial lamb despite how good he is at club and country level and made to play right wing back. I thought he did a very, very good job there, and it did work to an extent, but really we need to be working towards a system where Saka can just play on that right side in an attacking position, and it works. And I don't know what more I can say than that. I was chuffed for him scoring that penalty, bit of retribution for him from 3 years ago. And I just thought, in terms of all the attackers, he was the one who looked most comfortable, stepped up to the plate most, I think, in terms of creating chances for himself or other teammates. So yeah, great tournament for Saka. He will obviously be there at the next World Cup as well. But yeah, like I said, the fact we had to revert to a back five speaks about the mentality and the lack of risk-taking that was going on this tournament with Gareth Southgate's system. And Saka, unfortunately, had to be pegged back a bit and a little bit of a sacrificial lamb to Foden and Bellingham for whatever reason. And I don't think that reason was on merit. But anyway, that's my take on Bukayo Saka. Right, let's talk about Ivan Toney. Amazing, amazing tournament. 10 out of 10 for when he was on the pitch. I thought his hold-up play against Slovakia changed the game and won us the game as well with that assist to Harry Kane. And then coming on to take, in my opinion, what is maybe the best penalty I've ever seen against Switzerland was amazing. And then he came on at the death against Spain as well, as we opted to go direct again. I think his hold-up play is better than Kane's and Watkins, and he did serve that purpose. That was one thing that Southgate does understand. Sometimes you can lump it long and it does work. And Toney certainly has got that in his locker, but he's also got a lot of technical ability. He's just a great footballer, and I think for the limited time he got on the pitch and the way England were playing, weirdly it kind of suited Toney, and I thought he was phenomenal. So Toney, hats off, great tournament. Watkins as well, of course, chuffed to bits for that lad with the goal he scored against the Netherlands. A different profile to Toney and Kane, and one that we needed definitely against the Netherlands. Will he be at the next World Cup? I don't know. Another English striker might have an amazing season, but I thought, again, similar to Toney, he was brought on to do what he needed to do, and by God did he do it. Even against Spain when Watkins came on, he did create space by stretching the back four and just making those runs into the channels. It's so useful when you have a striker that actually attacks space, isn't it? Which brings me on to the next guy. Yeah, Harry Kane. A lot of people are saying that maybe he was carrying an injury throughout this tournament. Whether that's true or not, I don't really know. Again, though, I feel a little bit sorry for Kane, and I'll tell you why. Some of Kane's best seasons for Tottenham were under those horrific regimes of Conte, Mourinho, Nuno, where it was defensive, turgid football. He was dropping deep to get involved in the midfield, but then the outlet was Heung-min Son. And this also kind of mirrored itself at the Euros in 2020 when the outlets were Sterling and Rashford. Now, naturally, Kane knows that that's his strength in an England shirt. He's going to want to drop deep and get involved and find someone in behind. He knows he's good at that, right? What he's maybe not as good at is pressing from the front, which I think Southgate was trying to do but unsuccessfully. And I personally, I don't buy into the whole Kane was injured kind of thing. I think he was just given the wrong instructions, and instructions that didn't really suit him or the players around him. I genuinely think he wasn't quite sure what he was being asked to do at times, because if you're going to attack the penalty area, you also then need the bodies forward out wide to get those balls into him. That wasn't really happening for large parts of the tournament, and then again when he did drop deep, there was just like no real runners. And sometimes in this tournament, England dropped that deep that Kane was actually in his own half, just like doggedly defending. He certainly was in that Denmark game in particular. So again, that just speaks volumes of the whole system, not Harry Kane. It's not really his fault. Like, if England are that deep, then Kane's going to want to get involved on the ball. He's not going to just stand up on his own, because he can't really run in behind like an Ollie Watkins can. So yeah, as for Kane, I feel a little bit sorry for him. The trophy drought goes on. I don't think he was as bad as people are saying this tournament, given how bad England were as a collective. And he will definitely, given his age and his goal scoring rate in that Bundesliga league where it's all very open and expansive, he'll probably hit 40 goals next season, and he will be at the 2026 World Cup as England's captain, hopefully in a system that suits him better. So Kane, I think, wasn't as bad as people were saying. So that's all the England players done, which finally brings me on to Gareth Southgate. And hello, just interjecting again, Adam from the future. Of course, now Southgate's resigned. I didn't know this yesterday, but I expected it. So it don't really change much of what I'm about to say, but I'm glad he's resigned. I think it was the right time to do so. Full respect to him. And looking forward, I think it's going to be Graham Potter, and I would like it to be Graham Potter as well. I think he suits that attacking style of football, and with this group of players, I think he'd do very, very well. A young group of players as well. I think that Chelsea job was a bit of a poisoned chalice, and it tarnished Potter's legacy somewhat unfairly. I think he did great work at Ostersund and then Brighton. I'd give him the shot. And I think he's also got a similar demeanour to Southgate, that sort of softly spoken man-manager kind of build. I think it'd work. So I'd give Potter a whirl, but full respect to Southgate for resigning. Anyway, here's the rest of the Southgate stuff. Now, I don't want to rip into him. Yes, I was very unhappy with some of the football he was playing this tournament, and I feel like the nation really have sort of had enough of this style of play with the abundance of talent that we've got. I think that's the long and short of it. But over, looking over the 8 years that Southgate's been in charge, of course, he took over England after that Iceland result. Well, Sam Allardyce had it for a game, but let's not count that. It was pretty much after the Iceland result. And, we were in a very, very bad place, both in personnel in the team, but also the feeling that the nation had towards their football team. And he reinstilled that hope. I think 2018, for me, will always be the fondest Southgate memory in terms of turning us from doubters to believers once again. We didn't really have a great team back then, and we were the underdogs in many games that we played, which suited Southgate. We also were in the Euros against Germany, which suited Southgate. But the team has got too good now. It's too good for his own good. It's to the point where it's almost reminiscent of when Lampard was at Chelsea. And of course, he came in with that transfer ban, had to blood a load of young players in, and he punched above his weight and he got a top 4 finish. But when all the big money players came in and the squad was bolstered and was a lot stronger, he couldn't really tread water with it. And I feel like that's where Southgate is now. And he has been trying to stick to his guns by playing that sort of defensive football that got us so far in previous tournaments. But the team is simply too talented now, and it's tipped the balance the wrong way, and fans are frustrated with it, and rightly so. And I also think a lot of the players will be frustrated with it behind the scenes in their own heads, talking to each other. I think they know, given what they can do at club level, that they can do so much more as a collective with the ball at their feet. So I think it's time for a change. I think Southgate knows this. He could resign tomorrow when this video goes out, or it could be next week, or he might just not. But I've got a hunch that he will. I thank him for what he's done. But I think in that final as well, what I will say that really, really annoyed me is this England team seems to have an inability to smell blood. We're the best when we're losing games, especially this tournament. We're the best when we're losing games, which isn't a good position to be in. We don't want to be that side. You look at the Italy final 3 years ago, England took the lead in the first minute. Now, in my opinion, in a football game, if you take the lead in the first minute, that's a psychological momentum shift in your favour and against the Italians. You go for the kill. In that first 20 minutes after that goal scored, you go on the front foot and you try and get a second or a third. That is what should have happened in that final. But no, we sat back, we invited pressure, and inevitably, Italy equalised. Now, in the Spain game, the moment where England should have smelled blood for me was when Rodri, the most imperious best midfielder in the world, got took off the pitch at half-time. Should that not say to Southgate, listen, lads, Rodri's off. This is a time to get the upper hand in the game. Get a foothold on top of Spain. Maybe make a tweak in midfield, pack another man in there, whatever you need to do to give yourself the upper hand. But no, nothing changed, and within 90 seconds, we conceded. And it's that for me. It's that inability to make decisions in game when there's an opportunity. When England are level and we should be smelling blood. And all right, yeah, you could argue he did that in the Netherlands by bringing Watkins on, but I just think overall, there's too much trepidation in the decisions Southgate makes as a manager. I think he fears risk. He fears risk too much, and I think we need a change with a manager who's willing to take them. Anyway, that was a bloody long video, wasn't it? Wow, I'm going to do a lot of cutting up just looking how long I've been recording this for. Wow. Yeah, we'll see how long this video comes out when it's out tomorrow. But that is my quick analysis, I guess, of all the players who went to the Euros and Southgate himself. I'm disappointed, but I'm hopeful for the future because, like I said, we didn't think Mainoo would be playing a year ago. We didn't think Palmer would be a year ago. Guéhi, Eze, even Gordon maybe to an extent. All these players who've emerged as top level talents. We've got Branthwaite who didn't even go. There will be players in 2 years' time who we don't even know exist yet and could be world beaters. And I think it's only going to get better in terms of personnel for England. We just need a different man at the helm to implement the right style of play now moving forward. So let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Not trying to cause debate. I'm not particularly even angry. I just think it was almost inevitable, given how England have played this tournament, that we would fall short to a side that are actually imperious and dominant when they have the ball, and when they have Rodri as well, who just don't lose a game of football. So anyway, that's that. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. I've been Adam Monk at _Adam Monk on socials if you want to check that out. And right here somewhere, there should be the new edition of the magazine if you want to buy that online. It's on Pep's Disciples. Maybe the FA could appoint one of those disciples to play some attractive football that the fans want to watch. Anyway, I'll stop digging the knife in now. It's done. It's done. On to the football season. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Enjoy pre-season as well. This is the entertaining bit. The transfer window now will be ramping up. So enjoy that. Have a lovely week. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.